Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. You know that feeling that the world's just moving at warp speed? Well, you're not imagining it. Today, we're digging into the numbers behind the AI boom, and trust me, this isn't just another tech trend. It's moving at a pace we have literally never seen before.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at just how fast this whole thing is moving. Then, we'll get into this wild paradox at the heart of AI. It costs billions to build, but next to nothing to use. We'll see how that's led to a crazy explosion of new apps, which has kicked off this massive gold rush. And finally, we'll ask the million-dollar question, or maybe the billion-dollar question, who's actually going to win? Okay, first things first. To really wrap our heads around this, we have to talk about speed. The way people are jumping on board with AI, it's not just fast. It's like we've gone from riding a bike to strapping ourselves to a rocket.
And this chart just says it all. Look at this. Netflix, it took them over 10 years to hit 100 million users. Instagram, which felt crazy fast at the time, did it in 2.5 years. But ChatGPT, just 2 months. 2. That's not just faster growth, it's a totally different ballgame.
And you know where the eyeballs go, the money follows, right? The big tech giants are going all in. They've cranked up their capital spending. That's the money for all the servers and data centers by 63% in 1 year. We're talking about over $200 billion being poured into this stuff. It's just massive.
So you gotta wonder, how is all this even possible? Well, it's all built on this really fascinating, I guess you'd call it an economic paradox. On one hand, you have these insane costs, and on the other, you have prices that are just falling through the floor.
So let's look at the first side of this paradox. The cost to actually build these cutting-edge AI models. It's completely out of control. Think about it. Just a few years back, training something like GPT-3 was a few million bucks. Now, people are talking about $1 billion for one model's training run, and that number is just going up.
And yeah, it's not stopping at $1 billion. Leaders in the space like the CEO of Anthropic, Dario Amodei, he's on record saying he thinks we could see a $10 billion training run maybe as early as next year. That is just a mind-bending amount of money for a single computer program.
Okay, so that brings up the big question, right? If it costs a fortune to build this stuff, then why is it everywhere? How did it get so cheap that, we're all playing with it on our phones and using it at work?
And here's the answer. This is the other side of that paradox. While the building cost went to the moon, the cost for you and me to actually use the models, they call it inference, has just collapsed. Over just 2 years, the price for 1 million tokens, which are basically just little chunks of words, has dropped by more than 99%. It's a total free fall. Now this is where it gets really fun, because what happens when something super powerful suddenly becomes super cheap? You get an absolute explosion of creativity. It's like a dam breaking.
I mean, look at the people who build our digital world. The developers. They've dived in headfirst. Almost 2/3 of professional coders are using AI tools now. That's way up from less than half just last year. It's quickly becoming just the standard tool in the toolbox, like a hammer or a screwdriver.
And all this cheap access has spawned a whole new breed of companies. These are startups that are laser-focused on one industry, and their growth is just mind-blowing. Take AnySphere. They focus on software engineering. They went from $1 million in revenue to $300 million in about 2 years. Or Abridge in healthcare. They more than doubled their revenue in just 5 months. That's not just growth, it's hypergrowth.
The whole ecosystem of new apps is getting so big, so fast, that NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang says we need to think about it differently. He says these giant data centers, they're not just server farms anymore. They are AI factories. You put energy in one end, and out the other comes this incredibly valuable thing, intelligence. So, what happens when you mix huge potential with technology that's suddenly easy to get your hands on? You get a gold rush. A crazy, high-stakes race to stake a claim in the future.
And the money involved in this gold rush is just off the charts. We're seeing startups raise tens of billions of dollars. And the valuations, take a look. Companies are getting valued at 30, 70 times their revenue, sometimes even more. Investors are basically betting everything on future growth. But, and this is a big but, there's a catch. This gold rush is burning through cash like you wouldn't believe. Even the biggest players, like OpenAI, are reportedly spending billions more on just their computer time than they're making in revenue. It's a massive, high-stakes bet that one day it'll all be profitable.
So all of this leads us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. In a race this expensive, this competitive, and this game-changing, who actually wins?
Well, one of the biggest fights is shaping up between two totally different ways of thinking. In one camp, you've got the closed-source models from the big guys like OpenAI. They're super powerful, really easy to use, but they're a black box. You can't see how they work. And in the other camp, you've got this amazing open-source movement, where the models are free, you can look at the code and customize them however you want.
And you know, this isn't just a fight between companies. It's getting geopolitical. The gap in performance between the top AI models from the US and from China, it's closing, and it's closing fast. What looked like a solid American lead is now turning into a real horse race for who's going to be the tech leader on the world stage.
So here we are, left with this incredible tension. Billions and billions of dollars being bet on a technology that gets cheaper to use every single day. It's kicked off a global gold rush like we've never seen. And it leaves us with one massive, open question. Is this a race to the top, to build the most valuable thing in history? Or is there a race to the bottom, where intelligence itself just becomes another cheap commodity? The race is on, and honestly, nobody knows where the finish line is.